Listen to what happens when I try to play along to these songs in standard tuning. These are the original recordings of these tunes. I did not alter them one bit, and my piano is not out of tune. Clearly, there's something going on here. This phenomenon is what I'm gonna call songs in microtonal keys. Basically, a microtone is any sound that does not lock onto one of the exact 12 pitches of the standard Western tuning system. So basically, like 99% of all sound in the world. Now, despite how rigid the 12-tone system is, almost all modern pop music fits very tightly to the grid.
Just when I hit you, I knew I'll never be the same.
When you sing out of tune, it usually means that you're singing slightly off the grid. La 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 la. There's even a common joke amongst people who are bad singers. I'm not singing out of tune, I'm just using microtones. Well, I've got good news for us bad singers. I found a few very famous songs that everyone knows, that are completely in microtonal keys.
But Michael, microtones refer to the relationship between the notes. These songs aren't microtonal, they just use a slightly unorthodox pitch frequency. It's all about the intervals between the notes and how they fit inside.
Listen, I'm trying my best here. All these songs are slightly sharp or flat, but not sharp or flat enough to align with the next key. I'm calling these microtonal keys. If you can think of a better name that's just as concise, do let me know in the comments section. One reason a song might be in a microtonal key is because the recording was slightly sped up in post-production, as is the case in Tears for Fears' Everybody Wants to Rule the World. When you increase the speed of a recording, the pitch frequency increases along with it. Conversely, when you decrease the speed of a recording, the pitch gets lower. Changing the speed affects the pitch. You get the idea. Increasing or decreasing the speed is a very common music production technique. It's most often used to change the timbre of a voice or an instrument. I've talked about this before on my channel when discussing the song Ocean Man by Ween. Yes, that Ocean Man. The singer's voice was slowed from 146 beats per minute down to 123 beats per minute.
Take me by the hand, lead me to the land.
Now, the producer was very careful to choose these exact numbers, because slowing down exactly 16% changes the key from G major precisely to E major. Sometimes, however, the producer is not so precise, which is why Everybody Wants to Rule the World is in D half sharp major. The final master for Everybody Wants to Rule the World was sped up roughly 4%, changing the key from D major to a slightly sharp D major. Not to be confused with D sharp major. As far as I could find, producer Chris Hughes never discussed exactly why he did this. But what we do know for sure is that bumping up the speed and pitch of a song was a very common music production technique in the 20th century. Another less discussed song that's also in D half sharp major is Even Flow by Pearl Jam. Just like Tears for Fears, the song allegedly purports to be in D major, but if you try to play along with it in D major... yeah. One reason producers might have bumped up the speed is to make the song more danceable. Sometimes having the BPM just a couple ticks higher can make a world of difference in terms of danceability. In the days of tape recordings and vinyl records, an unintended consequence of that speed shift was a small pitch shift. I briefly touched on this earlier, but Queen's Another One Bites the Dust is yet another song that falls into this speed climbing, pitch rising paradox. The original was recorded in E minor, which we know because that's how they play it live. The studio recording, however, was sped up and pitch shifted to E half sharp minor. Another reason the song might be inadvertently pitch shifted is because of splicing. It's really common for records these days to be made of two different takes that have been cut and stitched together. And by these days, I mean the last 80 years. One song that does this is Boney M's Rasputin. Yes, that Rasputin song. While most of the song is in B minor, the intro is actually in B half sharp minor. Not to be confused with B sharp minor, which would just be C minor. No. Yeah, B half sharp minor. The funny thing is, this key change was the only way I could tell that the song was spliced. If you listen carefully, you can actually hear exactly when it happens. I couldn't find any primary sources explaining why the intro is a quarter step sharp. I think I have a pretty good guess though. The intro to Rasputin is played on a traditional Russian instrument called a balalaika. The balalaika is not very common in Western pop music, so a lot of people might not know that it's actually a pretty high-pitched instrument. This line is actually too low for a balalaika to play in standard tuning. My guess is that while detuning the balalaika line, German producer Frank Farian made a teeny little mistake somewhere, which caused the line to become a little bit sharp. Or perhaps the balalaika player themselves detuned their own instrument, but the strings kept creeping up in pitch during the recording session, as is common with detuned string instruments. Of course, Farian corrected the tuning once the guitars came in and he could bury it in the mix. He probably thought that nobody would notice the sudden pitch shift. And it looks like he was mostly right, since the only person I could find who noticed this was this single Reddit user. One of the most famous pitch-shifted splices in history came from the Beatles. Their 1967 hit song, Strawberry Fields Forever, was famously spliced together from two very different takes, colloquially referred to as Take 7 and Take 26. The story behind the song is actually quite fascinating. While Take 7 was played in B-flat, Take 26 was played in a very fast tempo in the key of C.
Let me take you down, 'cause I'm
In order for this splice to work, Take 26 was slowed down, changing the key to B-flat to match the other take.
Strawberry field.
Simple enough, right? Except, what if I told you I've been lying this whole time? There is a mystery about Strawberry Fields Forever that, to my knowledge, nobody has addressed before. Here's the thing, Take 7 is actually not in B-flat major. It's in A half sharp major. I'll prove it by showing you what happens when I try to play along in B-flat major.
Let me take you down, 'cause I'm going to.
When Paul McCartney played the song live in 1990, he actually played it in A major.
Let me take you down, 'cause I'm going to.
Paul is famous for never changing keys for a live performance. Perhaps this is a clue that Take 7 was originally recorded in A major, but got bumped up a quarter step in post-production. If you know the answer to this mystery, please let me know in the comments. There is something else peculiar, which is that every microtonal song I've mentioned in this video was recorded before 1992. I think I know why though. As time has gone on, music technology has improved quite a lot. Nowadays, it's possible to change a song's tempo without warping its pitch. In fact, it's become so accessible that you could literally do this right here in the YouTube browser. I searched far and wide to find a modern-day top 40 pop song in a microtonal key, and honestly, I couldn't find one. Maybe there's one out there and I just wasn't looking hard enough. If you know any famous songs from the last 20 years that are in microtonal keys, do let me know in the comments section. Do you think it's time to bring back microtonal keys? Or are things better now since we can play along with any song without sounding out of tune? Let me know. Also, if you've made it all the way through this video, go listen to my album. It's on YouTube and Spotify. Link in description. Thanks, bye!